It's like every single ad I have to do wins. Every product has to be a winner, but that's not how you actually grow a bigger business. You have to be willing to lose. And then through losing, what you learn in the losing process actually will help you win more. So that's one of the biggest things when it comes to paid marketing, even conversion rate optimization, is you just have to try things. Like you got to go change your button color from bright yellow to maybe a dimmer yellow and see if it converts better. Maybe you change it from gray to a different color and see if it converts better. But it takes two things, which is one, it takes a little bit of budget if you're going to do paid marketing, and also just takes time. You have to have patience.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I am your host. Today, we've got a very special guest, Stephen Pemberton, whose business journey encapsulates 2 e-commerce stores doing over $1 million a year before deciding to help brand owners doing $500,000 to $5 million grow their brands. Welcome to the podcast, Stephen.
Arlen, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and thank you for joining me. I am excited to talk to you as well. Today we're going to be talking about paid marketing and conversion rate optimization, which are things that you're heavily involved in. So I'm really excited to dive deep into that. But, before we do get into that, I really want you to kind of break down your journey with us, if you will, building these 2 successful e-commerce stores. If you can tell us a little bit about those, and then how you transition from doing that to helping other brand owners, and kind of what were some lessons you learned along the way.
Yeah, for sure. So I put in there 2-time founder. I'd loosely use 2 times because I basically am piggybacking off of my wife's success to a certain degree in 2018. But what was amazing about that storefront, because in 2018, I had been in corporate for a little over 4.5 years at that point, and used the word corporate loosely as well. I was a manager of a PepsiCo location. And I was doing, 12 to 14 hours every single day. So I had moved up the chain very quickly. I was one of the youngest managers in this Fortune 500 company. And we were living pretty good. So my wife was at home. She decided she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I said, great, we can do all that. Then in 2018, she comes to me and says, hey, I just feel very unfulfilled doing this. And I said, well, we're making the most money we ever have. What do you want to do? And she said, I don't know yet. So she does the cardinal sin and makes this post on Facebook and just says, I feel unfulfilled doing this thing. And luckily enough, my mom was the one who reached out to her and just told her, hey, I'm doing this Amazon thing. I would love to just get on a call with you, see if it's something you would like to do with me. And just a little background even on that is my mom had done a private label brand the year prior, and it done okay. I mean, she had made, I think, $20,000, $30,000 off of that brand. But then she had decided that she wanted to pivot more into doing the drop shipping model, which has here recently become very hot. Like, it's a hot topic, talking about drop shipping. And so when she got on the phone call with my wife, she's telling my wife all about it. And then my wife comes to me and she says, Stephen, I'm thinking about doing this business with your mom. What do you think? And I said, absolutely not. There is no way we're going to do that. We're finally in a good spot. We had run a business when I was 20 and she was 19, and we had lost everything. And I thought, there's no way we're going to touch a business. I'm not touching a business with a 10-foot stick. Like, this is not happening. And right, so 2 days later, she had another follow-up conversation with my mom. And she told my mom, yes, we're going to do it. And which was just incredible. So she jumps into business. I'm, the shining example of an unsupportive husband, pretty much the entire first 90 days that she's running this business. And then something struck me because, like I said a little bit earlier, I was working 12 to 14 hours. So it's one day I come home after working a 14-hour shift and my wife is up working. And then I go to sleep and I wake up and my wife is up working. And I realized the money may not be in our account yet, but she is definitely outworking me. So I decided to help her out where I could. And this was an interesting shift in my paradigm, was realizing what hard work was. I thought I understood that hard work, because I was so used to being a W-2 employee, meant that I just showed up and I got paid. But that was not the case when it came to a business. You actually had to put in work well before you ever saw a paycheck. And I watched her go from someone who would cry every time she would get a return or a 1-star review to, from 2018 to the end of 2019, that Amazon business went from zero to over $1 million a year. And that was mainly in the home goods sector and some beauty sprinkled in. It was just the storefront. And what was fascinating is then I came in, because my background is in supply chain logistics and being a manager. So we had 6 employees. So I'm coming in, helping them train, helping them hire. I'm helping them build actual business structure. And I also love to put in the caveat that it made $1 million in revenue. That is not $1 million profit. And for us, our profit margin was 10%. So it's not like we made a lot of money. And what was also interesting, like I mentioned, my mom was basically our founding capital investor. Is we had it structured where she took more than half of it. We didn't really understand what it meant. It was like, okay, cool. Yeah, you're giving us the funding to get into it. Here, you take all this money. And so we really didn't make very much at all. I was making more working in my job. So in 2020, we decided to restructure the business to up the profit margins. And in June of 2020, actually in May of 2020, I started having really, really bad anxiety attacks. And at this point, I never had anxiety attacks. Like I said, I had already failed in business before, lost everything, lived in a basement, done all these different crazy things, moved up the chain of command really quickly in a job that was grueling. So to have these anxiety attacks, it was mind-boggling to me. I just couldn't understand it. And in June of 2020, I decided I was done. I'm just going to quit. It's not as if the business is really making that much money for me to be able to come home. At that point, we were right in the middle of a complete restructuring where we had to let go of a lot of staff to up the profit margins, figure out what we're going to do next, figure out new suppliers, the whole deal. So me coming home was not an easy decision. But then I decided to come home 2 months later. So June I left. August is a couple months after that. Right around the time of my birthday, which is August 12th, we get an email. And I thought for sure it was spam, because it was just Amazon saying that our account was shut down. And if you are a business owner, like you have had these, if you have a Seller Central account, you get these emails where it's like, hey, your account's been shut down. And it'll be, like yin-yang@gmail.com. If you look at the person and you realize
it's obvious spam.
It's spam. So I went, oh, somebody's spamming me. And I go and I look at it and I go, oh, this looks pretty legitimate. And then we log into the account and sure enough, we're shut down. And at that time being shut down, it was just about it was $25,000 locked up in payments. And then we had almost another $60,000, $70,000 in product. So we're about $100,000 in debt, just like this overnight. And I go, this is the worst thing that's ever possibly happened to me in my entire life. I should have stayed in the job. And a couple months later, we're still just like fighting. We're praying. We're doing all the things, crying, trying to figure out how to liquidate inventory. And a couple months later, towards the end of September, we decided that we're going to go develop our own Shopify store. And then our main channel at that time was Facebook Marketplace. And we really got blessed with, at that time, Facebook Marketplace had just implemented shipping. So we were at the forefront of this trend, this wave. So within the first month, we made $5,000 profit. By the end of that year, so the end of 2020, it was doing well enough for us to help 33 underprivileged kids have Christmas. 6 months, it's at $100,000 a month. End of 2021, $1 million storefront. We helped 137 underprivileged kids have Christmas. And that was really incredible because this was kids in my local community, because I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And we were able to help them from the public school system. We were able to buy the presents. It was about $300 a kid, about a $50,000 project. We were able to wrap all the presents, deliver it all. We actually had to come up with our own logistics warehousing unit just for this whole adventure that we did with this project. And it was incredible. And then in 2022 was when we decided to pivot fully into helping other brands. So really going from more B2C to B2B. And so in the beginning, that was such a crazy evolution because I'm so used to these one-off transactions, $20. Somebody bought a $20 shirt, or actually at that time we were in home goods still. So we were doing about 100 to 200 orders per day. And it was very fascinating to go into helping brick and mortar stores. That's what we started in. We started helping jewelry stores in our local area, and that's how we got our start. And then from there, we've just been working in a whole bunch of different niches and helping out other different brands scale, especially at that mark from usually it's about 300,000 up to usually around 500,000 is our average client. And that's just where everyone seems to run into the same kind of growth hurdles. And that's why I decided I would love to talk about paid marketing and CRO. Those are two of the major ones I notice, especially at those growth marks, that a lot of brands just get it wrong. For us, one of the big things that we learned doing it ourselves was the reason why we got up to 1 million so quick. The reason why we went to 100K a month so quickly was because we just stood out from the crowd. It's not because our product stood out from the crowd. This was a huge misconception in the beginning. I thought I had to have the craziest, coolest product. I thought I had to come up with the next Tesla. But what I realized was I can take somebody else's idea, somebody else's product, and just package it in a different way, make it look different on a product listing, and it would sell differently. And that's how we stood out from the crowd. It wasn't our own patented product by any stretch of the means, but it made us a pretty good amount of money.
Gotcha. So you just positioned it a different way, packaged it differently, but it was really the same. It was out there.
Yeah, it was already sold
by other. Okay, interesting. Now I want to kind of backtrack a little bit. I mean, it's quite a story.
Yes.
Very quite a story.
There's a ton there
from someone. Yes, from somebody that had vowed never to get back into business. Like you said, you lost everything at the age of 20, I think, with your wife. And so I can definitely understand why you were so hesitant to get back in there. But, you know, in her shoes, it just sounds like something was just pulling at her to kind of do this. And it was almost like a calling that she just had to, she couldn't ignore it. And of course, as a husband, you know, at some point, you're going to have to support her. If not, that, you know, cut ties.
Yeah,
but
if not, we wouldn't be here.
Worst case. Exactly. That's a kind of a worst case scenario. Thankfully, that did not happen. But I want to go back to Amazon and getting that email, because I've heard horror stories like this before. Yeah. What was the reasoning for them to just shut your account down?
So great question. And then I'll follow it up with a secondary story. So with us, their reasoning is, and thank you for asking, because I usually bring it up, I did not mean to forget it this time, but we were doing wholesale. So we had moved our business model away from drop shipping, because that's what I had mentioned in the beginning, because that's why our profit margins were so slim, is we were doing a lot of drop shipping. So we moved it into wholesale, a lot of the same products, just doing having that actual relationship with the customers and with the suppliers. And what happened was there was an influencer on Instagram who had an Amazon influencer. He had made tons of money, had the house, had the car, and he had started his own program where you could buy wholesale lots from him. So my wife had been following him, learning from him for a long time. She said, "Hey, Steven, I think this is something we should do." And I'd been in the business all of like 20 days. And I told her, I said, "I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't do that. I don't trust it. It's just something in my gut." And so there's something in my gut, we just shouldn't do this. And so she said, "You've been in the business 20 days. I'm gonna do it anyways." And so she goes and buys this lot, and it was about $15,000. Well, they sent it in. And so we sent it in. We had the receipts. We had all the material that we needed. But what happened was, because our name was not on it, the supplier didn't know that we would be the one selling it. They thought it would be this other guy. And so when we send it in, then we get on the listings and we start selling, because the product that we bought, there was only the brand on the listing. So we thought, oh man, they've only got 100. We're buying 300 quantity. Once they run out, they're averaging 3,000 sales a month. We're about to just crush it. So just off of this one product, we're about to make all of our money back. Well, that brand basically, instead of sending us a cease and desist, they went straight, because they had brand safety and everything with Amazon turned on, and it immediately just shut our account down unless we could come up with the receipts showing that they had signed off on us getting it, which we couldn't provide that because we bought it through this middleman. So what ended up happening, it was crazy. It was actually a pretty well-known brand. I've never talked about this, but it was actually Bucked Up. If anyone knows Bucked Up is a pre-workout. They're a nutrition brand. They're very big now. And I thought that they were small because I'd never heard of them. But what happened was I got on the phone with one of their sales managers. Their sales manager sends it up the chain. I'm talking to their CFO. Their CFO says, "Hey, you need to talk to our CEO." So I'm talking to the owner. I didn't even know it was a big company. And I'm talking to him. I explained to him what's happening. And he's like, "Okay, here's what we can do. We can we can let them know. It's like, as long as you promise not to sell it anymore, we will take that claim off, so that way you can get your account back. And I just told him, thank you, that'd be incredible, and I promise that we won't sell it. And he didn't make me sign anything, which I thought, looking back, is kind of nuts. Like, he didn't make me sign any paperwork, he didn't send it to the lawyers or anything. And so they take that claim off. And interesting enough, what happened was it still took 6 months from that time. So it wasn't as if Amazon said, hey, the brand said that you're good to go and we're going to reinstate you. It's like, hey, we're just going to not. And if you know anything about Amazon, and anyone listening, if you don't, this is the thing about Amazon, is if they're holding your money, they hold your money forever and ever and ever and ever. It's not as if they wait until there's a certain return window that closes, which should be 30 days. It's not as if they wait 30 days, the returns come in, they don't, and then they give you your money back. They were just going to hold $25,000 forever. And that is wild. And that's why we didn't dive back into Amazon, was because of that. And we just had friends. I had this one friend who I met a little bit later down the road, but he had a brand that was doing $20 million a year through Amazon. Amazon shut them down and then came out with a brand identical to it and called it Essentials. And so what ended up happening is they couldn't sell it. Amazon created their own brand that's identical, so there was no way they could get back on it. So in a moment, their entire business was gone. So and this is a big reason why when I created my company to help other brands, is Amazon is a great piece to have, but it's never the first piece. I think that it should be a leverage tool for you to boost your sales, like almost pouring rocket fuel onto a fire, but it shouldn't be the only thing, because you don't control it. If you don't have a website, if you're not the one if you don't have an email list, if you don't have a customer list, if you don't have these things, if Amazon just decides to change the game one day, or let's say that they don't, let's say that it's like COVID. We had friends that they were doing similar to what we were doing, a couple hundred orders a day. During COVID, you could only do 200 orders a month. That is a huge loss of revenue per month. So at any moment, Amazon could change the game. They could, and then you're either out of business or your business is hit in such a detrimental way that it's hard for you to recover. So that's just a couple things with Amazon. I think it's great for what it is, and you have to have the right strategy when you're going into it.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. And I understand why you wouldn't, after those 6 months, they released your funds, why you weren't, eager to.
But we even had to hire basically Amazon's version of a lawyer. It wasn't as if they were going to give it back. Like, what you have to do is you have to go find this team that they come in and they fight on your behalf like a lawyer. And they will hold your funds forever. There's people that we knew. There's actually a guy that I talked to last year, and we were talking about his other brand that he has. And what he was talking about was, he said, I was on Amazon for a long time. They're holding $15,000 of my money. They've had it for the last 3 years. They just weren't going to give it back to him. So you actually and I ended up connecting him with the lawyer, and the lawyer, I don't know whatever happened. I hope the lawyer got him his money back, because that's what you have to do. You almost have to hire someone to come and do all this litigation to get your funds released, which is crazy that you have to go through all that trouble to get your money. Like, it's your money.
Yeah, it's insane. I personally, I have a love and hate relationship with Amazon, and I'm sure many people do. I love them because of the convenience. I'm constantly ordering stuff just because it saves me time, saves me gas from going out different places, and you can't beat that. And I think most people are in that position. But from a business owner's side of things, and knowing people that have been Amazon affiliates, and we've even dabbled into that a little bit, and just right after COVID, one thing that really stuck to us is that some of the major categories, they just cut the commission just in half, just really for no reason. And it just boggles my mind that a company that's that rich, that successful, is so almost cold-hearted and just doesn't even really care about the smaller businesses that really kind of make up their whole business. Without the smaller businesses, I don't think they could do what they do. So, that's why I say I have the love-hate relationship. But I totally get it, how it should be a channel, but not the channel for your business, for sure. Definitely have to diversify, because they can just, like you said, in your case, flip a switch, something goes wrong, and it's, your whole business is shut down.
Yep.
And you definitely can't have that as a business owner. You got to have multiple revenue streams for sure, which takes me to the point where you got to Shopify.
Yep.
And where you were selling direct. You said you were doing some drop shipping, and then transition from that to dealing with different wholesalers. Getting into the topic of today, as far as paid advertising is concerned and conversion rate optimization, what would you say? I mean, what was the sweet spot, I guess, for you that allowed you guys to be successful with paid ads and then, getting such a high conversion rate on your sales?
Yeah. So I'll start with the conversion rate and work backwards. So that's actually how we started. That was the biggest thing,
Okay.
because we were using Facebook Marketplace and Facebook Shops as one of our main organic levers. And at that time, we were getting a lot of organic traffic. So the only thing we had to really change was our product listings, how our Facebook shop was set up, our customer service, and that played into our conversion rate optimization. I think a lot of times people hear conversion rate optimization and they think, well, I just got to change a landing page, or I got to change this product page, and that's going to up my conversion rate, which is a thing. But if you look at conversion rate as a whole and look at it as its own little ecosystem, for us, the thing that really drastically increased our conversion rate was that the traffic who came to our website or came to our Facebook shop, they saw something different than 99% of everyone else who was on there. And if they asked a question, they got a response. It didn't just get lost in the sea of messages. For us, that was my biggest thing, because that was what I was over. I was over all the products. I was over all of our hiring. I was over all the training. And so customer service was what we hired first. And with customer service, we hired that pretty soon and pretty quickly, because we were just getting so much inquiries. And what we noticed was usually the people who it was either one or two people who were looking to buy or people who had already bought. If it was somebody who had already bought and they were having a bad experience, we worked with them to write that experience, and then all of a sudden they would buy again, or all of a sudden they would refer somebody. So customer service really helped us with our conversion rate optimization. And also just using, for us, was lifestyle photos. So on all of our listings, we use lifestyle photos instead of just doing like Amazon does, and a lot of these brands do that I see now, is they'll do just white backgrounds. And white backgrounds looks very clean, but it also looks very, it doesn't look as if you can quite relate to the product. If it's a lifestyle photo, I mean, even if you're selling pillows like we sold pillows, we sold couches, we sold every big and small, everything home decor, little plants. If you couldn't visualize how you would use that in your everyday life, you're not buying it. So for us, is we would have a picture of the little plant on a countertop next to a soap dispenser. And it's like, oh, that's exactly how I would put that. It can decorate my bathroom. If it was a table runner, it wasn't just a white background. It was a table with the runner on it. And it would show plates laid out next to it. It would show the silverware. It would show how it was decorated. And then that was one of our top sellers, because you could just see it. That's how we did it with garlands. We also really dabbled in a lot of seasonal stuff. And every single time they were a hit, because we just did it a little differently. And I think even on the point of conversion rate optimization, if you're a brand and you have a Shopify site or a BigCommerce site, or however you're doing it, is making sure that you have some kind of standardization. So all that simply means is that your fonts are all the same. So you're not using Times New Roman, and you're not using some other font for somewhere else. Like, it all just looks the same. And you may be thinking, Stephen, does that really matter? Is that actually going to help me? Yes, in the long run, because it makes a big difference when you go through and it just, because your eyes can tell. Like, you may not actually know what it means, but you're looking at it and you go, something's just weird about this. Like, there's something just weird about it. And having standardized fonts is one of them, and having standardized photo sizes. Like, this is something that blows me away, even with some bigger brands that I've talked to that are doing north of $5 million a year, is they have, when you first get on their website, they have this gigantic header photo. I mean, it's just huge. It takes up the entire screen, and you go, I don't really understand what I'm looking at. It's like a video that's playing, or it's a video, or it's just a picture that's there. So you're not seeing any of the products until you scroll down, or maybe they're running a sale, and it just takes up so much room. And then you go down, and then the product pictures are small, and then they'll have like maybe a collection photo and it's huge. And all of that plays into your conversion rate. Having it as standard size helps a lot. Something I like to call, when you first get on the page, is called above the fold. So above the fold, for me, is the most important. That is your number one piece of real estate. And I just see so many brands use that ineffectively, because on there you communicate so much. Like, you need to have some kind of really good positioning statement. Why are you different than the other 99 apparel companies I've talked to or looked at? Why are you different than the jewelry brand? Why are you different than the home decor brand? What makes you different? Is it that you're handmade? Is it that it's locally sourced? Is it something like that? Instead of just being like, be beautiful. It's like, that's so ambiguous. No one's going to buy that. If you have to be using that portion of your website is very, very important. And then maybe you're sitting there thinking kind of how some of my other clients who are a little bit that $300,000 range are like, Steven, I just run them all to a product page. So what you're saying to me doesn't really matter. Trust me, two things is it does. It's still going to matter even if you drive them to the product page, because let's say the product that they go to, it interests them, but they want to look around and see, well, what else do you have? So if you just are only focused on the product page, that's great. Make sure to dial those in and make those really good. And it's still the same kind of concept, is making sure that if you have product pages that it's going to look the same, where you have the same kind of photos throughout, that they're the same kind of sizes, that if it is a clothing brand, if it's a jewelry brand, that you give them some kind of measurement so they understand how big or small this thing is. And also is you make it a description that matters. Like I've seen this quite a bit, where people just have this long book of a description for their product when really it's a black t-shirt with a cross on it. It's like,
exactly.
You don't need to, this is the finest Egyptian wool in Northeast Asia. It's like, you found this. It's like, that's not what this is. It's like, just explain to me what it is and why it's different. Now, if there is an incredible story, it's like, hey, there was these kids in Africa that were making these shirts, and now we source from that village. So, and a portion of the proceeds goes back to this village to continue supporting that community, then please tell me the story. But make sure the story matters. Don't label something like the Essentia collection, and Essentia in Greek means blah, blah, blah. And because of the Greek text, we decided to do, it's like, I'm not reading that. Like, that's not helping me buy anything. You named something because you liked it, but you didn't actually do any data to actually research and see if anyone else cared about that. So now you just have a whole bunch of words that are just eating up your space, killing your SEO, because now Google's crawling in thinking, well, is this for Greek speaking people? What is happening? And you're not getting any of the conversion rate upside. You just delete some of that stuff. And then doing something super small, which is, I just think is funny, because I have a client that we're working with on this one thing, especially with all of his product pages, is he has his button to check out gray. What's the problem with the color gray? Is usually if you find a brand with a color gray on their button, that means it's sold out. So the mental, when you go and you're looking at sites and you see a grayed out button, you go, oh, that button doesn't work. That means they're sold out. Let me come back later. He's fully in stock. So just changing the color of the button is going to increase his conversion rate. So those are just some of the small things. I mean, the reason why I want to start with that, instead of thinking about the paid marketing, because everyone wants to talk to me about how do we get better at our meta ads, or how do we get better at Google ads, or maybe we need to step into TikTok, or maybe Pinterest is the thing. If you're sending them to a bucket full of holes, it won't matter. You can send as much water into that bucket as you possibly want to. It's just going to keep leaking out. You have to fix a bucket first. And I'm not telling you that you need to spend $30,000, $40,000 and get the best website developer in the world and spend months and months and months to make it perfect before you run any traffic to it. But what I am saying is that if you are bootstrapping especially, is do these things along the way. Like, do these things in increments. If you are running traffic and that's how you're getting a majority of your sales, work on the product page that is your hero product, or as I like to say, your hero product, the one product that sells the most. If that's your one product that sells the most, work on that page. Get that page dialed in. Make it amazing. Make it to where it's got some kind of bundle on there. Make it to where it has some kind of cross-sell on there, something that makes it stand out and is just driving two things, which is your average order value, your conversion rate is high, and this is something that people can come back and buy again. So your lifetime value of that customer goes up. So when I think about that, in conjunction with what you were saying with paid marketing, the paid marketing, this is how I like to view paid marketing. Paid marketing is just a way to get people to come see your bucket. So
exactly, if
your bucket is good, then your ads will work better. My hot take on all this is that you can go and find the best strategies in the world for paid marketing. And if your website and if your bucket isn't good, it's not going to matter. Your ROAS is going to be like a 1.2. You're barely breaking even. And you're going to be saying, Steven, it doesn't make sense. I'm spending $30,000 a month. I'm making $30,000. I'm making $32,000 a month in sales. So I'm making money, right? It's like, no, not really. You're actually pretty much losing money with your cost of goods. And that's my big thing. Is I would rather see people, and if you are listening to this, if you're someone like this, decrease your ad spend, work on the bucket, and then increase the ad spend without changing anything else and just see if it works better. Because if it starts working better, then you go, oh, the ads didn't suck. It was my website that sucked. And then if you go and you fix a website and you start running ads and it's the same, then you go, oh, my ads actually suck. And then you can start working on that. And I think that there's also the misconception that video just crushes across the board and every single ad has to be a video ad. Not necessarily. You can have picture ads, you can have graphics, as long as it's something that's eye-catching, as long as it's in. There's two different things when it comes to paid marketing, and then I'll be quiet for a second. Is one, when it comes to paid marketing, if you can set it up in a way where you're doing two things, which is one, driving people to the bottom of the funnel, which is your high intent buyers. These are the people with the highest intention to actually make a purchase. Then yes, you're going to make sales. But if that's the only type of person you're chasing, you're always going to be chasing your tail. You have to also start marketing to people who are problem aware, but they don't know you're the solution. Because what ends up happening there is, let's say that you sell a back brace and you're only selling like, hey, are you hurt? Buy our back brace. Well, maybe these people know that their back hurts, but they don't know they need a back brace. So then you start marketing out there. It's like, hey, are you experiencing back pain? Here's some of the common factors with back pain, and here's some solutions to back pain, and just make yours one of these solutions. Now, all of a sudden, they become solution aware. And now that they're solution aware and they think, oh, this person knows my pain and they have a solution to it, let me at least go see. Now they've gone from this middle part of your bucket down to the bottom part of your bucket. Now they've become a higher buyer intent. But a lot of the brands I see, especially around that 300K to 500K, is they only want us to market to the people who are going to buy right now, which that works in the beginning. And what happens is that cost to acquire a customer over time just goes up and up and up and up because they're only marketing to one people group. The frequency of the ads that are going to those one people group is crazy. And this is something I found even with a brand that I worked with recently. They were in the Christian community. And what I love about the Christian community is they're very supportive of people in business promoting Christ. So this brand was out there promoting Christ, and every single one of their ads had hundreds of likes and hearts and shares and all these things. So guess what? The algorithm thought, oh, all these people must be high buyer intent. Let me keep sending it to them. 30, 40, 50, 60 comments on the post. None of these people buying. Oh, wow. So what ends up happening was, because it was just pushing to a community of people who were being gracious and loving on this product, didn't actually get sales. So you had to change the strategy sometimes. You have to, then what we did to be able to help them make more sales, well, we stopped just talking about the mission behind it, because that attracted a certain type of person. We had to actually talk about the features of the product, why this thing was actually good, how it actually helped you. And then all of a sudden we started getting more sales. But these are some of the different things to look at. Is don't just market to your high buyer intent, market to people who are also, they are problem aware, but not solution focused.
Yeah. It's a tricky thing. And I've seen a lot of businesses fall into the trap of just so eager and focused on sending more traffic, setting up all of these ads. And because, as we know, it's pretty easy to set up these campaigns and just dump a ton of money in it and just keep driving traffic and thinking that that's the answer. But a lot of times, because that's what they think they should do. And there's a ton of these different channels that they can do that on. There's all these social channels. You have Google ads, you have, all of these different platforms. So it's easy to do that. But I think for business owners, a lot of times it's harder. It's not as sexy to just look at your own website and say, okay, we got to fix this. This is just not right. This is, a lot of times they overlook it. Like in your case of your client with the gray button, if they would have looked harder, they may have picked that up, and may have realized that. But a lot of times that type of thing gets overlooked, and they're really just focused on pouring money into it. So yeah, I totally agree with you as far as fixing the holes in the bucket before thinking about, any paid marketing campaigns. Now, with what you've been doing with helping brands, of course, you mentioned you've helped brands that have made, starting from 500,000 to upwards of 5 million in sales. Is there a particular success story of one that you could highlight? And was there a specific strategy that allowed them to have such an explosive growth like that? Yes.
So one of my favorite ones was actually very early on when we started running this business, was right on the tail end of us winding down the $1 million a year Facebook Shopify store. And this guy, he reaches out to me and he goes, "Hey, Steven, you don't know who I am." So he hits me up on Facebook and he said, "But I just need 10 minutes of your time." And I said, "Okay, sure." And so I get on the phone with him and he said, "Hey, so I'm running this company and I just want to talk to you for a minute. And this was completely pro bono because I had no idea who this guy was. And so we're just talking through his entire storefront, what he's got going on. And I'm giving him advice on how to do his product listings differently, who to hire, how to hire them, how to train them, and what to do for his business. And a few months later, he calls me again. Hey, Steven, I just want to let you know that from the content that you've been making and from the conversations we had, I've been able to take my store from where we were doing about 200,000-300,000 to now I'm doing over $1 million. And I was like, wow, amazing. So that's one of my favorite ones because it wasn't even in the paid capacity like it is now. Now, my business partner and I, we do a lot of consulting. We're doing this with brands. We're helping them with each step, each one of their growth plateaus. We're helping them go through it. And then when it comes to the paid marketing side, I will run all their paid marketing if that is so needed. Because just to give them because one thing that for founders, especially bootstrap founders, when they get to that 300,000 to $500,000, is honestly, you can get there without hiring anyone. You can learn the skills enough to do it on your own. Even when it comes to paid traffic, if you're running less than $3,000 a month, you don't need to hire a marketing agency. I'm sorry if you're a marketing agency and you're hearing that and you're trying to get everyone who's got a $500 a month budget to run ads. Firstly, $500 a month is just not going to get you the return you're looking for. Secondly, if you are a marketing agency and you hear that, those are just not your ideal clients, I promise you. And so for the people that are spending that amount of money, $3,000 or less, you can learn all the skills you need to make more than $3,000 or more on your own. You can do that through Facebook. You can do that. There's some great people who have amazing content out there for free that you can learn all the skills that you need. But once you get over that threshold, you need to start delegating. So for my business partner and I would come in, I'm running the paid marketing. We're building them out, the marketing strategy and implementing it. And then we're also just consulting them on usually it's the logistics supply chain line. Because for some reason, it just seems like a lot of brands hemorrhage money on that side, on the logistics side. Yeah. So we help them there. And then we're just helping them with a branding because they don't quite understand at that point what a brand looks like and what it even means to have a brand. So then we start helping them with that as well. But so even with the one client with the grayed out button is watching him. So coming in and because he was running his own ads for about 6 months. And he had someone come in, then he decided he was going to run on his own. And so he's doing Advantage Plus campaigns, which is on Meta. It's super easy. It takes like 5 clicks and then you set it up and you throw in some kind of creative and you just type in the text and you're good. And he had a decent amount of success with it until he didn't. And this is the pitfall of Advantage Plus or, AI powered ads or anything else is if you don't understand the mechanisms of why people are buying and not just how they're buying, you get stuck to where you don't know how to actually innovate on what's working because you don't actually know what's working. And so when I came in, I basically scrapped everything that he had, restarted, and within the first month added $5,000 in revenue. Since he's been working with us, we've added $40,000 in revenue in the last 3 months. So it's like for him alone is just changing up some of the strategy and testing things because this is also the mythology early on when you're doing about 500,000 or less is that everything has to win. It's like every single ad I have to do wins. Every product has to be a winner, but that's not how you actually grow a bigger business. You have to be willing to lose. And then through losing, what you learn in the losing process actually will help you win more. So that's one of the biggest things when it comes to paid marketing, even conversion rate optimization, is you just have to try things. Like you got to go change your button color from bright yellow to maybe a dimmer yellow and see if it converts better. Maybe you change it from gray to a different color and see if it converts better. But it takes two things, which is one, it takes a little bit of budget if you're going to do paid marketing, and also just takes time. You have to have patience. Yeah. If my business partner, he calls it signals and noise. So if you're looking at things on a micro level, so I'm looking at things every 15 minutes, especially in paid marketing. I haven't gotten a sale yet. It's been 30 minutes. I haven't gotten a sale. It's been an hour. Still haven't gotten a sale. It's been a day. I haven't gotten a sale. My click-through rate's only at 1%. It's $10 cost per click. Then I just need to kill everything. It's like, it's been one day. Let it run for a week and then let's see. So a lot of times, this is almost counterintuitive to what I was just saying by going as micro as looking at the button, but go a little bit more macro. Zoom out. Like, let's look at the last 30 days. You've been running these ads for 30 days. What is actually working? What's not? Oh, these are actually working way better than I thought. I had 3 days with no sales, but actually this thing has made me $12,000. So maybe we shouldn't kill it because 3 days were bad. This has actually been my highest converting. It's actually getting me a 3 return on ad spend. I'm making good money through this. I'm just freaking out because I'm looking at it on a micro level. zooming out on your business is the best way for you to actually look at the biggest gaps. Because if you can zoom out enough to say, oh, my ads are actually doing okay. I'm getting a 2 return on ad spend. I'm actually doing better than I thought on a macro level. On a micro level, this week, it's only gotten me a 0.5. So this has been a bad week, but on average, I'm averaging a 2. So I know it'll all level out. Okay, so I'm looking at it. My shipping times have gone from 7 days to 10 days. Let me zoom out. Oh, the ports were shut down. So that's what happened. So now if I zoom out, I realize, oh, it'll be fine. It'll all level back out. And that also, as a business owner, that just relieves so much stress if you can just zoom out.
Yeah, it's like you have to do both. Like you said, you got to zoom out. There are those granular things you do have to look at and pay close attention to, specifically on your site. And like you said, from font styles to, button colors, all of those little small things you do need to pay attention to. But like you said, there's some other things that if you don't step back and then look at the bigger picture, you may not see what's going on. Like, there's certain trends that could be happening. Like you said, nowadays, you mentioned something about the ports. I guess there's some strike going on with the ports that could be slowing up. You're getting inventory that could be causing a trickle down effect as to you can only offer a certain number of products per month. And, stuff like that, you're not going to catch unless you pull back. Well, Stephen, as we get ready to wrap things up, I wanted to ask you one question. If you could do one thing totally differently from your entire journey, from starting the business to now transitioning to helping other businesses, what if you could do one thing over and one thing differently, what would that be and why?
Man, that's a great question. I have an answer. So when my wife and I decided to go from B2C to B2B, the one thing I wish I would have done is I wish I would have had more vision for the future. This is where I wish I would have zoomed out more. So I was looking at the noise of, we're doing 100K a month. We should be good forever, right? But instead of zooming out and saying, this is actually a very volatile business that we're in. Is this what we want to do for the next 5 years? If so, what would need to be true for me to keep this business running in the next 5 years? What would I need to work on? And actually start working on that. If my vision was to go into the B2B space, which we're in now, then I would say, what skills would I need to help somebody else? Oh, maybe I would actually really need to know how to dial in every aspect of a Shopify store. Maybe I would need to have more people in my network. Maybe I would need to go and be better at paid marketing to help people with paid marketing. For me, it's the twofold effect of one. I wish I would have gained more skills when I had the finances to gain more skills. And then two is I wish I would have known it's not, especially coming from where you're doing B2C and it's every single day I'm getting 100 to 200 sales. I'm getting all that positive reinforcement. Switching into B2B, you're getting a sale every now and then. It's not the same, but they're much bigger ticket prices. So it's being understanding, same thing I was saying earlier, is just zoom out. Like, okay, let me zoom out a little bit. Instead of looking at everything day by day by day, looking at it on a macro level, the twofold effect of I'm gaining the skills, I'm learning the knowledge in the middle of building this business that's already doing pretty well. Now I'm going to shift into helping other people grow their businesses with these skills I've already built. And I'm also knowing that two things, I have to walk in and help them understand that it's going to take time. It's going to take time for them to see the results that they really want to see. And then secondly, is that it's going to take time for me to see all the clients that I want to help. That would be the thing that I would change if I could go back and do it again, that piece.
Okay. That's great. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think a lot of business owners kind of fall into that trap where they're kind of looking too narrowly into their whole situation and then not looking into the future and kind of forecasting. And a lot of times it's no fault of the business owner. A lot of times they're just trying to survive. There's so many business owners these days that I come across online, and even businesses that are storefront businesses. They're just, they're in survival mode. It's like a perpetual state of survival mode just to keep their doors open. So, they're like, I'll be damned the future. I'm just trying to pay my employees today.
But what I find to even be interesting with that is, for me, it was a little bit different. Where for me, we were doing, in my opinion, so well because we're doing 100, 200K a month. Like, I traveled to Disney World and Disneyland 2 months apart. Like, we were going all around the United States. We were traveling, making money on autopilot pretty much because of the way that I had built the team and we had built the company. Only thing I had to do was manage a manager, and they managed the business. So it wasn't stressful in the slightest. And so it's literally looking at things on such a micro level in the success and in the failures of things. When things aren't going well, it's easy to get so stuck in, well, things aren't going well, so I just got to keep looking at it and hopefully it'll just get better instead of zooming out. And then there's also the side of, oh, things are going so well that I don't need to zoom out. I'm good. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends on who you are. If you're a little bit paranoid in this successful seasons and you go, this could all go away one day. It's like, how do I build something so where it doesn't go away? Then you can just be paranoid enough to build something that I wouldn't say is indestructible, but it does give you a little bit more breathing room. You diversify your sales channels, you're diversifying your marketing channels instead of just being one channel focused. Now you have multiple channels, you're upping your supplier relationships, whatever it looks like. Then it makes you a harder business to kill. But if you're one channel focused, you got one sales channel, you got one marketing channel, you got just one of everything, all of a sudden, any of those things go away, you're dead. So that's just something where it's like, even in the high times, if you're listening to this and you're in the high times, it's just zooming out a little bit and saying, okay, what else is there? What am I not seeing? What could be trying to kill me right now? And then working on just building your defenses. Because once you get to a big enough spot, my business partner talks about this. He helped a business go from around $1 million a year to $35 million a year. He said, in the beginning, you're just trying to survive, like you said. But what happens is, like, now that they're up, once they hit $10 million a year, people were coming after them. Like, we're going to go for their suppliers. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to market it to the same people. So now you go from being on offense to where you're chasing everyone else to where now you're on defense. It's like, oh, shoot, now people are trying to come after me. It's like, I'm just doing 10 million. I'm not even there yet. But when people start seeing success, they want to mimic success.
Yeah. So very, very good lessons. Yeah. You really have to be careful no matter what stage you're in, regardless. You gotta, even if at the high times, you never know, the bottom can fall out at any day. And then when you're struggling, you got to forecast, and able to really get to those high points. Well, Stephen, thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate everything that you've shared. It's been an awesome podcast. I've learned a lot, and I know our listeners and viewers have as well. Before we do let you go, I always like to switch gears just so our listeners and viewers can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd be interested to know. Oh,
one interesting fun fact is, so my name is Stephen Keanu Pemberton. Middle name is Keanu. For the longest time, because I'm Hawaiian, I thought it was a Hawaiian middle name. But come to find out, if anyone knows this famous actor, Keanu Reeves, that is actually where my middle name comes from, which I was just blown away. I learned that at 20-something years old. My whole life was a lie. I thought for sure that my parents had taken the time to name me after something important in Hawaiian culture, and they were just like, oh, no. My dad had watched Gone in 60 Seconds or something like that with Keanu Reeves, and he went, that one. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh, wow. That's funny. So you just found this out not too long ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, Keanu. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Naturally, you would think that's a Hawaiian name. It has something to do with Hawaiian culture. But wow. Okay.
And it means Keanu cool mountain breeze. And I thought, well, that's a lame thing to come up with for Hawaiian. Cool mountain breeze. Like, I'll take it because I enjoy mountains and I enjoy the breeze. It's like, but I just don't. I feel like you could have done better. And then come to find out, I'm just named after the actor. It's like, okay,
wow, interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that, Stephen. That's awesome. But lastly, before we do let you go, if our listeners and viewers want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about your journey or conversion rate optimization or paid marketing, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So LinkedIn is by far the easiest place to find me because I'm on there all the time and it comes directly to my phone. But LinkedIn is just Stephen Pemberton. You go on there, you look for the guy who kind of looks like Jason Momoa. If you find Aquaman on there, that's probably me. If not, please take a screenshot. And when you do find me, let me know. And then if you want to learn more about what we do and how we help brands, go to elevatum.digital. So we went a little bit new age with the website, but elevatum.digital. You put that in, it'll take you to our website. You can learn more about who I am, who my business partner is, and who we can help and how we help them.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely have the links to your website in our show notes, and encourage anyone that's interested in talking to you to look you up on LinkedIn and to reach out to you there. Well, once again, it's been an awesome conversation, Stephen. We really appreciate having you on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The the More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.